This news conference is in reference to 3 people that sadly died yesterday, and it was as a result of a hunting incident. I guess the best way to explain it is just start from the very beginning. At 1:02 a.m., the sheriff's office received a call through dispatch that there were some folks trapped in a hole at 300 block of New Trails, which is in northern Bastrop County off 95. When first responders responded and arrived on the scene, there was one individual there that had been with the hunting party. There was 4 in the group, and he said that all 3 of the others had fallen into a hole. Well, the hole turns out to be a cistern that was ground level. It was even with the ground, and these individuals were in the hole. It appears that they were out hog hunting, and before they were engaged in the hunting, at least according to the information that we received, one of the dogs escaped from the truck. And when the dog escaped from the truck, they went looking. The next event that happened, the dog fell in the cistern. Once the dog fell in the cistern, it appears that one of the hunters dove in or jumped in the cistern, which once again was a hole of about 4 feet by 4 feet, even with the ground. He goes in. The water level is about 8 feet below the ground. So now he's in a hole 8 feet below in water that we found and determined it had hydrogen sulfide gas in it. As a result, 2 other people came up from the hunting party, knowing that their comrade was in the hole and the dog was in the hole. They too jumped in the cistern. And it's evident that they jumped in afterwards because some of them had taken their clothes off. The lady had taken her shoes off. The man had taken his pants and boots off, and they went in the hole also. Because of the gases in the hole, we think, and we're speculating here, we'll let the autopsy bear this out, but we're speculating that the hydrogen sulfide gas overcame them and they were not able to maintain any kind of buoyancy on top of the water. Therefore, they sank underneath the water. And so it wasn't long in the tank before they went to the bottom. The individuals were from Florida, the 3 that are deceased. There was a local person that they were with that was on the hunt. He's from Red Rock. At this point, we're not identifying him by name. The other 3 people are Delvis Garcia, 37 years of age, Noel Denise Martinez is 26, and Noel, what's the last name? Benitez is 45 years of age, and they are all deceased. They were taken to the medical examiner's office last night around 7:30 when the recovery effort wrapped up. During the recovery effort, it was hampered by the methane gas, by the stagnation of the water. Diving crews did not want to go in. I think we contacted about 6 different teams. They didn't want to go in that stagnated water. So we pumped the tank. We cleared the gas through ventilation. We took a drone, flew it in there to see what the integrity of the walls were. And at that point, we didn't have too many takers wanting to go down in the tank, just simply because of the unknown integrity of the walls. However, David Newman, one of our deputies, volunteered to go down, and so with the help of some members from the Elgin Fire Department and the utility department from Elgin, we were able to lower him in. In fact, he had to go in about 3 times, and he recovered the bodies and recovered the dog. The dog was also sent along with the funeral home, and the 3 bodies were sent with the funeral home to be taken to the medical examiner's office. Can you think anything else, Sergeant Miller?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm open for questions.
Can you explain what a cistern is and how deep it is?
Yeah, this cistern, in years gone by, a cistern was maintained for water for the house. It's an underground one, unlike the top level tanks and so forth. This is just a tank underground where they kept their household water for different things. It's not uncommon in this county to have these, I'm told. But by law, they're required to be covered if they're over a certain opening. This did not have a cover on it. Did that answer your question?
Yes. So it's basically like a well?
It's kind of like a well, but a well typically is a cistern could be under a house, for instance, and the water runs off of a building and runs down in it. It's similar to a well. Some people would call it a well, I guess, but a cistern is definitely has a different purpose. It is a water capturing, where a well is intended to extract water from the ground. A cistern is intended to put water in the ground. So that's the difference of a cistern and a well. Yes, ma'am?
Who owns the property where the cistern was?
We're not at liberty to release the homeowner. That's part of our investigation at this time, who owns the property. There's some indication that the landowner may be recently deceased. That's part of the investigation to determine if that is the case or not.
Well, was the cover nearby or just not there?
No, there was no covering anywhere around. This was just an open hole in the middle of a cornfield.
Mm-hmm. You've identified the property owner but haven't found it yet.
Well, we suspect that the property owner is deceased, and we have not found that property owner. We have not contacted any of the beneficiaries of his estate at this point, but that's all part of the investigation. Obviously, all of our resources yesterday was focused more on the recovery effort than it was on doing an investigation. So from today forward, we will start our investigation to do several things. One, we'll locate the property owner. We'll also verify the story that we received initially about the dog escaping and so forth, because the public probably immediately thinks they were out there hunting, and they may have been. I don't know at this point. I just know what we've been told. So, that possibility exists. I hope our investigation determines whether they were hunting or whether they were chasing a dog as it was reported.
Well,
Go ahead.
oh, well, the story was given to you by the fourth person in the party?
Yes, he's a local person. These other 3 people are friends with him, or one of them is. They came down here at his encouragement, we understand, to hunt hogs. And so these 3 people from Florida came down. He is taking and out hog hunting. And they were in the process of hog hunting. Whether they were actively involved in hog hunting at the time of this incident, we do not know that for sure. All we know is what we have been told, and we have been told that a dog escaped from the truck while they were going to a hog hunting location, and it had a collar on it where they could detect where it was, and so they went looking for the dog.
Do you know the relation of the 3 that died? Are they family or friends with each other?
Now, do what? Say it again.
Do we know the 3 that died, how they're are they related to each other? Are they family members? Are they friends?
I think there was a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship between the male and the female, and then the other one, I think they're just friends. I think all 3 of them are friends as far as that goes. And the fourth one, one of them at least, was a friend with him. I don't know whether they all were or not.
Could you repeat their names, please?
Yeah, and we're going to put that on our Facebook page, and we will get the correct spellings and the correct names and so forth. These are Hispanic names. Of course, they're common Hispanic names, but we want to make sure we get the correct spelling and so forth. But as soon as this is over with, I already have a news release prepared. We will send that out, it will essentially say what I'm saying up here, except it's not as much in detail as I'm discussing up here.
So the deceased traveled here strictly to do hog hunting?
That's what our understanding is. They were encouraged by their friend here in Texas, in Red Rock, out of Red Rock, to come hog hunting. And if you're a hunter, you know, Florida to Texas, it's a short distance just to come have a good hunt. So, and you know, the farmers around here, the hogs are a menace to them and so forth. So it's not hard to find property where you can hog hunt in Bastrop County.
Is there a particular season for hog hunting?
No.
You said recovery efforts took quite a while because of the complications. Do you have an idea of how long it was, maybe from when first responders got there until the bodies were recovered, or any kind of timeline?
We concluded our body recovery at about 7:30 last night. Best I could. I looked at my watch, and as I was leaving, and I know I didn't get home till about 8:30 last night. So
And the call came in around 1 a.m.
it came in at 1:02 exactly is when it came in. So
That's AM.
a.m. 1:02 a.m. is when the call came in, and we wrapped up those recovery around 7:30 p.m. We were wanting to get it wrapped up before nighttime because additional resources would have had to been employed in order to do that. And so consequently we ended up at 7:30, and we feel real fortunate. And I don't mind telling you that David Newman did an outstanding job. He was suited up. He was put in protective gear from the fire department. He had a ventilator on, oxygen when he went down, even though we could not detect the hydrogen sulfide at that point. We felt like it had been cleared. We used a suction ventilation to suck out the air and pump in air and clean the air before all this happened, but we still put him on oxygen to go down to make these recoveries.
Can we talk to him?
Do what?
Can we talk to David Newman?
No, not at this point, because I don't know that he could furnish any more information than what I'm doing, and he is dragged out from yesterday and not available. In fact, I think he's got some, I don't know whether I should say this or not, but he's got some minor surgery today, and he's out. So here he is fixing to have minor surgery, but yet he's going down in this hole and extracting his bodies.
Would there be any justification to pursue legal action for the homeowner who left the cistern uncovered?
I think I'm going to leave that to the legal experts. Even though I'm an attorney, I would tell you that there's always legal action when something like this happens. So rather than point out what legal action, I'd rather leave that to the legal. But you know, you can always anticipate legal action when something like this happens.
Again, this is private property, right?
It is private property. It had corn that it had a crop on it because the corn had not been harvested yet.
How does methane get to like a cistern like this, since it's full water? I have kind of confused on how that methane gas got in there.
I'm not sure I can explain that. The question was, how does the hydrogen sulfide gas get there? In a septic tank, because of the products that's being put in there, it's real common, and that's the reason some people were saying this was a septic tank to start out with. It's real common for hydrogen sulfide to develop in a septic tank. This gas is not only explosive, but it will kill you. I mean, this gas is such that you cannot breathe it. I mean, within a matter of minutes, if you're breathing this gas, and it had what I would consider a high level of hydrogen sulfide. Would you say that?
Yes, that's what we were told when the air was tested, or the air quality.
Yeah, when he had the air quality check, they said it was a high amount, and it would not be anticipated that anyone could live in that cistern with that high level of hydrogen sulfide gas. But it's quite common. It's a stagnation of the water, number one. And think about it, that cistern may have been there 100 years. And the stagnation building over the years, and no telling what's blown in there, or what's animals that could crawl in there and die. Then you got the animal rot. You got different things that's happening. I'm sure snakes crawled in there. It's quite common in cisterns to find snakes and so forth. So the decay would create this hydrogen sulfide. So, yes, ma'am.
So it was dark when the dog escaped, and the people were running after the dog and didn't see the hole?
Well, you're asking me questions. I don't know whether they saw the hole. I would think that the dog didn't see the hole because the dog went in the hole. But some of what you're asking, I don't know. The three people that could tell us exactly what happened are not here any longer. The fourth person can fill in, but wasn't right there at the time that they all went in. And so I can't answer some of those questions.
But it was dark.
Yeah, at 1 a.m. in the morning, yes, ma'am, it's dark. And I don't think there's even a good full moon last night, was it? The way things been going on in the county, as crazy as everybody's been, it seems like a full moon if it's not. But anyway.
Are you able to say this is surface level, you said it was a ground level cistern. Was the water up to the surface level, or was it a situation where it was down here and that's why they couldn't get out?
Yeah. The cistern was at ground level. You know, you wouldn't even stump your toe hardly to fall into it. It was that low to the ground. The water level was 6 to 8 feet down below that. So you can imagine that once they got in there, they cannot reach the top. And then with the gas added to that, I don't know how long, the pathologist will have to tell us that, how long that they could anticipate to be alive under those conditions. We don't have that. We're early in our investigation, but we did want to inform the media and the public of what our actions were. I know there was a lot of speculation. How did the bodies get there? What, is this some cynical body dump or something? I heard that to start with, and it's not. It's exactly what we've been talking about. It was a hunting accident that went bad. It's sad that these young people lost their life. I was there when they were brought out, and that's a surreal feeling. Even after 55 years of law enforcement, it's a surreal feeling to see these people pulled out and see them lying there lifeless.
In that sense, the cistern, is it something that you would visibly see it if it wasn't at night, during the day? Was it marked in any way?
It's not marked in any way. You could see it. Could you overlook it? Possibly. We're talking about a hole like this, a man cover hole. So what can you see about a man cover hole, And there was a growing crop all around it. It's in the dying stages of the crop, but it was there. And of course, when we got there was a lot of trampling and so forth already done by the first responders. And I think when you got there, it's the same thing, right? It was a lot of trampling. So.
Who's the pathologist?
Where did they go?
Travis County Medical Examiner's.
Travis County Medical Examiner's office is where they were taken.
You don't know the name of the pathologist?
No, ma'am. They have a staff there. The staff will then decide who the actual attending pathologist will be.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got here late. They called me really late. Could you give me a summary of what happened?
Can we do that after we get through?
We can.
I'll be glad to hang back and we'll get you covered. Any other questions or anything?
So this is in the middle of the cornfield?
Well, I don't know that it was in the middle of the cornfield. It was probably, 100 yards off the roadway is what I would say. I don't think that's the middle of the cornfield, but it was in the cornfield. I can think of a case when I was a ranger captain in Midland where we had a person, a child, fell into a hole, fell into a pipe, and they extracted that person by digging beside it and then going in. Well, that was attempted also. We dug beside the cistern, and one of our attempts, or one of the things that we were planning to keep from putting somebody down there, we actually dug beside it. We were thinking about breaking the wall, but once we got down there and gave it more thought, we felt like if we did that, we would destroy the integrity of the walls, and then we would be in more are in a worse shape than we were before we attempted that. So after we dug a while, we abandoned that and went back to just good old roll your sleeves up and get down in the tank and recover the bodies.
What time did David Newman go down?
He started about 6:30. It was probably an hour. And correct me anytime I'm saying anything wrong. Sergeant Miller was out there the whole time, and I was out there on 2 different occasions during the day. I went out early and saw what was going on, and I had other stuff to do. And then I went back during the body recovery. And so
6:30 a.m.?
No, 6:30 p.m. It took a little over an hour because we're talking about at least 3 entries into the tank. I believe it was 3, wasn't it? He went down 3 times.
I think so.
Yeah, it was 3 times. Anyway, he goes down in the tank 3 times. And if you get a picture of him, he's going down, he's harnessed up, he's got an oxygen tank on his back, he's oxygen mask, obviously. We sent ropes down so we could tie the bodies off. He's hooked to a hook on a boom, and the boom is lowered, and the cable is lowered into the tank. He gets to the bottom of the tank, and then we release the cable a little bit. He's able to tie off the bodies one at a time. We tried it 2, but it didn't work the first time, so we had to make that 3rd trip. David brought the dog up by just hugging the dog. He just hugged the dog and brought it up on the 2nd attempt, in fact.
And the water was drained then at that point?
The water was gone at that point.
The water was gone. Is there anything else found in the tank?
There was slush in the bottom of the tank. They did a real good job. We protected the environment when we hauled the water off. We didn't just pour it on the ground. We put it in tankers. It was transported out of there to be disposed of properly. And once again, the dog is going to be cared for and disposed of properly also.
Do we know what kind of breed of dog was?
Do what now?
What kind of breed of dog?
Do you know? It looked like a bloodhound. What I'd call a bloodhound is what it looked like to me. It was a large dog, and I might add a pretty dog. And it had a collar, a radar collar, or one of the collars, a tracking collar on it when it was pulled up still. Any other questions?
Well, yeah. How many dogs were still in the truck?
I don't recall the number. What was it, 5 or 6?
6.
6. We called animal control. They came out, I think, and cared for the dogs and so forth. So we involved animal control early on so the dogs wouldn't be in the heat of the day and so forth.
It's grisly enough.
So, but if that's all the questions y'all have, that's certainly all I have, and I appreciate y'all's attention to this. And you know, it's a sad day whenever it ends like it did yesterday. So, you know, our heartfelt, just our heart goes out to the family, you know, on something like this. Can you imagine you have loved ones and they come to Texas to hunt, and then it ends like this, which was a sad tragedy that just happened. And if you think about it, that group was there to save each other. You know, that takes a lot of guts to jump in, first of all, after the dog, and then when their friend's in there, it takes a lot of guts to jump in. And they pre-planned jumping in. The first one jumped in pretty soon after the dog went in. The other 2, you could see where they took part of their clothes off. The lady took her boots off and entered the cistern. The male actually took his pants and boots off to enter the cistern. So if the hydrogen sulfide was not in there, this would probably have a different outcome. Yes, ma'am.
Did you contact the families of these people?
Yes, ma'am. All the families were contacted last night. That's the reason we were delaying this news conference, and we were delaying putting out a Facebook post. But we have one prepared that will go out shortly after this. We have been in contact with the family to see if they would allow us to release pictures We have got one response back, and they said that they did not want us to release pictures. So I don't have any pictures for you. I did ask, 'cause I know you like pictures, but I don't have any pictures for you at this point. You can probably go on social media with these names and develop some pictures, but we have no pictures to distribute.
Are you going to hand us the press release as we leave, or?
No, ma'am, it's going to be on our Facebook page. It will be posted. It's not posted. Is it posted yet, Russell?
No, sir.
Okay, but it'll be posted within, what, 30 minutes of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it'll be posted within 30 minutes of this news conference.
Well, could you repeat the names now, please?
Well, I can, but they're going to be there available for you in writing, and I'd rather for you to get the correct spelling
Oh, it will be checked.
and
but
so forth.
I just feel that my notes aren't complete.
Well, they will be complete as soon as you get a copy of our press release. I think most of you prefer that, so anyway, that's what we're going to do. I have the names written down here. I'd hate to think that I wrote one of them down wrong and then I gave it to you wrong. When we do our Facebook page, they will be correct. You will have your information on there.
Okay.
Anything else from anybody? Well, once again, thank you for coming. I think this is a story of public interest. I think that we can all learn from this. And the fact is that, unfortunately, in our county, like I've been told, there are places that have had houses that are no longer there, that sometimes leave wells behind, leave cisterns behind, and the only thing we can hope for is the landowner will cover those so something like this would not happen in the future. It's not worth 3 lives. This is 3 lives. You know, that's a lot of people, 3 people. 1 would be too many, but 3 people dying, that's unforgivable. So, that concludes the news conference. Thank y'all for coming once again, and I'll hang back to you.
Will Dupree, back here in the KXAN live studio. There you heard from Bastrop County Sheriff Maurice Cook talking about the deaths of 3 people who went into a cistern in a cornfield yesterday early morning. What the sheriff shared just a few moments ago is that it appears the 3 were on a hog hunt here in the area. They were accompanied by a local man who was leading them on that hunt. And at some point, according to that man who was leading this effort, a dog got loose from the vehicle that they were all in, ran away. They tracked it went into a cistern that was in this cornfield you see right here next to me. And one man jumped in after it. A little bit later, a man and a woman jumped in as well. And all 3, as well as the dog, died because of what the sheriff shared a few moments ago was hydrogen sulfide gas that had built up in that cistern. The water was about 6 to 8 feet below the ground level, so they couldn't reach up and get out of the cistern. But he said a few moments ago that that gas was so strong that it would have killed anyone within a matter of seconds, if not minutes, just because of how dangerous it is. So this situation is being investigated. What we're told is that it was a long recovery effort to try to get these people out of that cistern. They ended up having to drain the water that had built up in it and then also evaporate the hydrogen sulfide gas that had built up too. The water was taken away in a tanker, so it wasn't dumped into that field right here that you see next to me, and was disposed of, what the sheriff said, properly and safely. And then eventually a deputy was actually lowered by a harness wearing an oxygen mask and a full suit and recovered all 3 of those bodies, that 2 men and that 1 woman, as well as the dog. Their identities have been shared. We will post that on our website at kxan.com, but the investigation will continue. As the sheriff noted there, they're going to be talking to that person who led this hunt, this hog hunt there, and try to verify that story and get some more information. and it's unclear whether anyone will face any kind of legal action at this time. But of course, we'll keep tracking that and follow and share the latest on our website, kxan.com, and the KXAN News mobile app, so you can find out those latest details there. Once again, I'm Will Dupree in the KXAN Live Studio. We want to thank you all for watching here again. We'll see you throughout the day with other updates, as well as some of the information about fires that are burning in our area. Please note that there is a high fire danger today, as there has been this whole week, so please keep that in mind as you're out and about today. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you back here another time. Hope you all stay safe and healthy out there. Take care.